Good morning, YouTubers from sunny Spain. I've been doing a bit of sunbathing this morning. It's quite hot and sunny out there, so I've come in to cool down. And last night I was watching a really interesting programme on YouTube. There we go. And it's a bit of a mouthful, the name of the channel. It's Progress, Technology, History, Documentaries. I will put a link to it if you're interested. And it's about this guy, and he's obviously rich. He's obviously a millionaire, and he's made a lot of money doing. I think they said he made his money out of forklift trucks, and he runs an historical helicopter group, if you like. They have maintenance people, and they restore old historic helicopters. They get these helicopters from the Ministry of Defence. He's got a Wessex. I noticed he had a Westland Scout. Is it the Scout, the small one? Or the Wasp? The Wasp, that's it. And particularly caught my attention the Sea King, because as you know, I've been flying the Sea King recently in VR on my flight simulator. What a cracking helicopter! I love it, and obviously I've never flown a real one, but the simulator is the same. And it's it's not a difficult helicopter to fly, actually. I think it's really nice. And so this particular documentary was very interesting. Now this guy obviously has got plenty of money. His wife's into horses, and they've both got helicopters, and they both fly helicopters. So the guy is seriously loaded. And these old helicopters, they can probably get them very cheaply off the Ministry of Defence. I don't know what kind of deals he had going, but basically they'll give them away to a good home if someone's going to restore them. I know of a load of Canberra bombers that had been sold to Argentina before the Falklands War, and they were all lined up at a place called Salisbury, which is to the east of Wharton in Lancashire, and they'd gone there for maintenance and repairs and things. And then the Falklands War kicked off, and because the Argentinian Air Force bombed our fleet, our task force, with our own Canberra bombers that they'd bought off us, they thought, well, no, you're not getting them back, because they had a whole row of them at Salisbury parked up. There must have been, I can't remember exactly, but there must have been about 10 of them, because we used to drive past Salisbury on the way to the parachute centre. And they sat there for years and years and years, and eventually they sold them all for £1 each. So I don't know what the deal was with the helicopters, but he probably got them really cheap. Now, the one thing I will say about helicopters is they're super expensive. Okay, the engines cost 50 grand each, you know, a Gnome engine, gas turbines. Sea King's got 2, so there's 100 grand just in 2 engines. Now the gearbox, the main rotor head, the tail rotor, all these parts are lifed, so they've got to be replaced after so you've got to get the documentation with the aircraft. So they've got to get all the new parts. If they've run out of hours, you need to replace them. It's no good saying, well, it's okay, look, it works. That's no good. It has to be replaced, the lifed parts. And he bought this Sea King with no blades. So I mean, I don't know what 5 blades would cost for a Sea King helicopter, but a lot of money. And it was a very interesting documentary because they got the aircraft in, and they were going through the systems. It had fuel leaks, it had this, that and the other. They got inside the tanks. There was 3 big rubber tanks under the floor behind the pilots, and they had to drain them and get right inside and inspect every inch of the rubber tank inside, and then they had to connect everything up, start the engines, and then they got fuel leaks, had to shut it down, and they had to go through series. Anyway, cut a long story short, they got the helicopter flying, and you've got to get a licensed engineer to sign it off who's able to do that. It's finding these people, you know, because these helicopters have not been in service for quite a while, so finding a licensed engineer who is experienced on one of these aircraft, that has the type rating, to sign it off is critical. And then you need to get a test pilot to take it up and test it, make sure everything's working, before you can yourself, the guy with the money, gets checked out on the aircraft himself, and then he gets his wife checked out on it as well, because they like to fly all these old historic airplanes, and they do the air show circuit. I don't know how old this program is. Just looking at it, it was uploaded 5 months ago, but it's obviously been on the television. This is just the channel I found it on, so. But I will leave a link to it at the bottom, and it's really, really interesting to me because I've flown it a lot in VR on the flight sim. It's very straightforward, and I'm watching and hearing what they're saying, and it's all spot on. And I think to myself, wow, you know, even if that someone had given me that helicopter for free, I don't have 100 grand to buy 2 new engines. I've got nowhere to put it. I don't know any engineers who could service it and maintain it and keep it up to tip top, and you know, it's just astronomical. So VR for me is brilliant because I can do all the flying I want, and I don't have to pay a penny. I don't even have to pay for fuel or landing fees. Did the RAF voice there? Did you notice? But yeah, really good. And if you're interested in helicopters or anything like that, it's worthwhile clicking the link and watching how they restored it. And this helicopter wasn't even in a bad state. It had just been parked up for a few years, you know, without flying. And but the Wessex, on the other hand, that had been stood for a long time before they restored that. Again, someone just walked up to him, some captain from the Navy walked up to him and said, "I say, we've got a couple of Wessex. Would you fancy doing them up? You could have them or so." I don't know what the exact deal was, but then of course you've got to transport them by road from wherever they are to wherever they're going, because these things have been pushed out the hangar and left out in the cold because they were doing things. The times moved on. They've got F-35Bs and things in there which they need the hangar space for, and these helicopters are just sitting outside, and they're thinking, what are we going to do with that? I know, let's find someone who's into fixing them up. And I think brilliant. What a brilliant plan. What a good idea. And I am very pleased that there are people out there who dedicate themselves to restoring these helicopters and flying them again. But I bet I've got more hours on the on the simulator than he's got in the real thing. Just saying.